Hi folks. So today is March 20th, Sunday. I don't typically work on Sunday, but I had a vehicle that I was working on last week that took up about 45 days of work. So it put me behind just that much more. And so I wanted to come over to one of my clients that runs a car dealership and try to help them get out some of these little problems that they're having with some of the vehicles that they purchased from auctions that are ready for sale, or they're trying to get ready for sale. So today we're looking at a 2007, I believe it's a 2007, we'll look at it real quick here. 2006 Ford Explorer, beautiful truck. I think it's an Eddie Bauer edition, 4.0 liter V6. We installed this engine about a week ago. The old engine is here. Supposedly the engine ran hot. Okay, so when I got to it, there was an engine sitting on the ground that they wanted me to replace it with. We did that. Got it back in. We got a couple of codes. One of them is, I can't remember the code right off the top of my head, but it has something to do with the throttle body. So I took the intake that came on the donor engine, which is actually in the truck. I took this intake off and used the intake that was already on the truck. The reason that I did that was because in order to install the engine, it was easier to install it without the intake. So I decided to just use the old intake since it was on a truck that ran. I don't know anything about this intake. I hate to install it. It's got a crack somewhere. I don't know that the other one didn't, but I felt like it'd be a better chance, a better choice. So nevertheless, I took the throttle body off of this intake to install on this truck. And what I noticed when I unplugged the harness for the throttle position sensor, it's a 4-wire plug. What I noticed was this. So we have 4 wires in there, and apparently this was taped together really tight. What it looks like is just the insulation has become brittle from heat over a period of time, and it just cracked it all up. And so what I know is that these wires were touching, which may have been the reason why I was getting the code. So what I'm going to do is attempt to fix these. It's not going to be the fix that I would like to utilize, because essentially what it requires is pulling these connector, or these terminal ends, out of this plastic connector. There's a special tool for that. I can probably get down in it. I'm going to see if I can, because if I can, then what I can do is I can actually fix this the way that it should be fixed. What we do is we slide some heat shrink tubing over this, where the wire is exposed, to close that up from the elements, and also keep them from touching one another, because one of them, I noticed there is some corrosion on it. I think it's this yellow wire that I saw it on. Yeah, a little bit of corrosion right there at the end. And so I'm going to take a little wire brush to it, try to clean up some of that. But also, if I can, look, it's even, as I'm touching it, it's even coming apart even more. So it's just from heat. It's no one sabotaged this. This is a car dealership. A lot of times when they buy vehicles from the auction, people sabotage things. My guess is that so that when it gets in the lane and other dealers bid on it, they'll bypass it, because they assume that there's more damage, or it's going to cost them more to fix it. So, I guess my educated guess is, they're hoping that, my professional guess I should say, is that they hope that it'll come back through the lane and they can bid on it at a lower cost, lower price, or maybe get one of their friends to buy it or what have you. Nevertheless, this is what we found. But the kit that I need, there's a special tool kit that allows you to release these terminal ends from this plastic connector, and then you can slide the heat shrink over it. If I can't do it, then what I'm going to do is take some electrical tape and start a good distance down and wrap each wire individually all the way up to about the end of this connector, to ensure that they don't touch again, and then wrap them all together in electrical tape and then put them back inside of this wire loom here. So that's the simple way to fix it. But again, if you have the tool, or you have the patience to use a pick to try to get the terminal ends out of this connector, that is the best way to do it. The way that I'm going to do it will work plenty fine as long as the wires don't touch again. And that's going to be the simple fix to this. But nevertheless, it was a good find because I was about to change the throttle body. But this is one of the reasons why a visual inspection is so important. And sometimes these things are overlooked and we replace parts unnecessarily. But I'm glad that I caught it because, again, this wire loom was on here. It was taped all the way up, and you could barely see that the wires were touching. But when I looked at it, again, I just noticed that something didn't look right, and the tape was like all the way up to about right here. I mean, about right there where the top of my nail is. So you couldn't, and they were tightly together. I mean, real tight together. So I know that they were touching for a fact. But at any rate, this is why a visual inspection is so important, not to be overlooked. ASC certified techs can overlook this kind of thing. Novice, amateurs, even more so. And it's something that I think is oftentimes overlooked in automotive repair because there are several vehicles that I've come across, again, where a person has changed a part unnecessarily and only to find that there's a problem somewhere in the wiring harness. And it's just not to be overlooked. Again, this is what sets different repair facilities, or even technicians for that matter, apart from one another. Just having an eye for detail. So we're going to put this this find as a good find, and we're going to do our best to ensure that we eradicate this problem. I may not change the throttle body now because based on this, there's no need to do so. But I'm going to put the throttle body off the other intake manifold to the side just in case. It can be a good thing to have around. But I'm also probably going to rebuild this engine because I know that they're also high dollar. So I'll probably take my time, tear the engine apart, put timing chains and everything in it, fix the overheating problem, and then probably put it on the market to sell. So that's what we're doing today. One of the things we're doing to this particular truck, we're also going to see if this cures our transmission shifting problem. So because what we also know is that a bad TPS can cause a transmission to shift erratically. So again, while we presumably don't have a bad TPS, we do have a faulty harness. So we are going to fix that, take it on a test drive, and hopefully we solve the problem. The worst case scenario, what I'm thinking, even with the transmission, is that it probably has bad fluid, again, because the engine overheated. And 95% of automatic transmission failure is due to overheating. Those are statistics that we actually used to look at. It's been over 15 years ago, but it's probably still true. We do have some mechanical failure here and there, but even then it's usually just in one direction or the other. Transmission won't move in one direction or more. It won't go in reverse and it won't go in, drive, but tear it apart and fix those particular points, and you can put it back together. Where you have swelling of seals, burned fluid, burned clutches, usually it's from overheating of some sort. So we do know that this engine ran overheated. I'm going to assume that the transmission isn't bad. I'm also going to assume that because they provided us with a transmission and it's the wrong transmission. What I found out last night when I was about to install this, was that this is a 4-wheel drive transmission. This truck is not a 4-wheel drive truck. This is a 2-wheel drive truck, so we can't use this at all. So we're going to do our electrical repairs on that TPS sensor. We're going to go ahead and get this puppy started. We also have a parasitic draw of some sort, so we got to find out why the battery keeps dying. We may actually have a bad alternator, don't know yet, but we're going to look into that, see if we can't get this thing squared away. Could be the harness on the back of the alternator. It's not uncommon to have the pigtails on the back of these Ford alternators no longer be making good connection in the pins. So I'm going to take that apart in just a moment, take a look at it, and we'll try to take a video of that, update it, let you know what we find. But this is Car Specialist signing out. Talk to you.